Hello,
Hello,
what's your good name?
my name is Stefan Bauer. I'm from Munich, Germany.
Oh,
I'm
great.
part of the association Mehr Demokratie, and I'm member of the board of Mehr Demokratie in Bavaria.
Do you think that direct democracy will be feasible in the future?
Must be feasible,
Must be feasible.
because
At
now
the-
it is feasible. It's always feasible. The question is, do people want it? No? If you want it, you can also make it feasible.
What do you think a constitution written by the people, citizen of European Union, and in the long term, constitution of the World Federation, not only of European
I'm very in
Federation?
favor of a constitution for Europe, which is written by the people. Our association, Mehr Demokratie, even has a concept for how to do that, to elect a convention, and which can add proposals by the citizens, and which is finally voted about. So I'm very in favor of a federal Europe with a constitution. I'm skeptical about a world federation, because we should have still several states, maybe some important states or some big states, but because if the World Federation once falls into the hands of a dictator or of a dictatorial system, then there's no alternative anymore. Yeah? So I wouldn't create this world power comparable to a state, but some bigger blocks which arrange each other would be the better choice, I think.
What do you think about European Commission and democracy? European Commission is democratical.
Yeah, but very indirectly. It's indirectly legitimated by the indirectly legitimated people. So you have indirect legitimation of the
Yeah,
governments,
yeah.
people, parliament, government, and then the governments of Europe again legitimize the EU Commission. I mean, there's too many steps. I would also like to see a process which comes directly from the European citizens.
How we can create in European Union direct democracy and within the European Parliament? Because
we
European
have to discuss this. I mean, I would refer to our concept to say, okay, if you want to change the European Union contracts, you need to establish a convention, which is in the contract already. I support that this convention shall be elected by the people. And they draft a proposal, which is also publicly discussed, and which allows that proposals by citizens, maybe their signatures, are introduced. And finally, this constitution is subject to a referendum in each country which could join. We have laid out a rule which says perhaps if two-thirds of all countries accept it, then the constitution is valid, and the countries who have opposed it can hold another referendum whether they want to leave or whether they want to join in spite of this. That would be a concept we have in mind. It must not be exactly like this, but this would be a way to go. It would be a long-term way, 3 years, 5 years, but I think a European constitution needs also to be accepted by the individual states, by the peoples of the individual states. Even if you lose it finally, it doesn't make sense to establish a constitution which doesn't find acceptance. If it doesn't find acceptance, then the constitution is wrong and not the other way around.
Great. European Union was created in order to create maybe structural peace. What do you think about this concept of structural peace nowadays, and the link between structural peace and direct democracy?
Okay, direct democracy is, let's say, an advanced form of democracy, but I believe more generally that peace is promoted by democracy in the sense that democracy can ensure, at least in wide scale, individual rights are secured. and also a transparent transfer of information is guaranteed or provided, and you cannot so easily create an enemyship between democratic states and between democratic peoples. There are problems, but in democracy you're used to there are problems, and that there are decisions taken which might not suit you, but you always have the chance to change this. And if this is the case in different states, it's not so likely they go to war. Other war prerequisites, like in Russia, that you have a despotic regime which gives you wrong information, which makes propaganda, and which can hide away real things. And the likelihood for peace, let's say, between democratic states is much higher than if you've got despotic states involved.
How can Europe defend herself now? Because in all treaties is not we don't have instruments to defend Europe. It was constructed for peace, created for peace.
Yeah, that's the difficult thing. I mean, basically in the EU contracts you even have, in the meantime, a clause that EU states are obliged to support others. My position is without military force, an existing military force, it's not possible to secure peace towards outside. Inside is possible if we have the right agreements. And we should, in the long run, be militarily strong but defensive in acting.
But what about
militarily defensive?
Yes, what about North American treaty, NATO?
NATO. Yeah, it's currently the best we have. It could be better. It would lead for an own European, at least conventional defense, which can act standalone from the United States. But for this you need, in the first place, effective leadership which can decide. As long as you have, in this case, 27 states which individually decides what line they follow, this is very difficult for military defense. So the United States can at least define a direction, whether it might be good or bad. But
and do you think that Europe has to be careful if Trump will be elected, that he will be against defending Europe?
Yeah.
No? And
should not be
what are the solutions now? What do you
Yeah.
think about this?
Europe should not be careful but engaged to set up its own defense. And like it's normally, it would be good to have a planning and to have a step-by-step approach to achieve a goal. But as human beings are, they solve the problems once they are there. So if Trump is elected and does a policy as is described, which is also still open, I mean, it's not sure because it's other people, then Europe must see where it is. But often the problem must be there before the solution comes. The better approach would be to have the solution before the problem comes, but that's not typical for human decision making.
Yes, European Union will be a global leader if European Union will have to spend a lot on military capabilities.
I think it will not be, if you do it efficiently, it will not be so expensive compared to the economic power of Europe. Leader of, I mean, the position of a world power is a bit dependent on your own definition what you do with it. I mean, you should not be a world power which is predominantly militarily acting. Military should be the last option, but military, if it exists, is already a good negotiation position.
So I think that structural peace means soft superpower. And Europe how will be able to ensure structural peace if Europe will become a hard superpower?
Because, number one, structural peace can be established within Europe. And the policy, as I said, defense strong, but defense is military, but defensive,
Yes.
so that you cannot be attacked. But using the soft power for active politics towards other countries. Yeah, to have a firm, let's say I would quote Helmut Schmidt. He said during Cold War times, you must be so strong in military that not negotiating is not an option for the other side. And then you can use your soft power.
Yes, you know that European Union first was created with the aim to import the model of liberal model of America, United States. They said, okay, we need a partner of liberalism, but we help you, we assist you, we cover your security and defense, but you have to import our model. This was the aim of creating European Union from the superpower, American superpower. It was like this. I am a professor of history of international relations, and I study this. Many people think that European Union, of course, was created to defend our structural peace and to export development in the continent and in the world. And
What
this,
do you mean by liberal model? Do you mean the political model, or do you mean the economic model?
Economic model. Economic model.
Hey,
We are
some
talking
way
about,
it's a deal. No?
Yeah.
In some way it's a deal. You give certain power to the United States by the basis and so on, and in return you are secured, which gives you less options for acting. Yeah? It's, if you want to be more self-determined on these matters, you also have to provide your own security with the necessary consequence. And if it comes to the so-called liberal model of politics, of the political system, I don't have the idea that the liberal democracy in Germany is imposed. On the contrary, it is founded on the principles of German history, because we also have a democratic history. The core of our constitution is the Citizens' Rights Catalog from 1848, a revolution which failed. It gave the room to re-establish that. In 1848, First National Assembly of Germany, a lot of democratically minded people emigrated to the United States. They came back, the spirit came back in 1945. That's a bit, let's say, pathetic now, but basically I see it that way. I don't think you can say the liberal political model was imposed in Europe. Its liberal model is coming from Europe and was first installed.
It's not imposed. It was not imposed because United States need to have a partner. You know, I'm talking about economic model.
Economic model is something else. Yeah.
You know, European Union is not a political entity. It's an economic entity. We are not citizens of Europe. We are only consumers. Yeah, and we have to understand this, because if Europe wants to deal with citizens, she has to become an entity.
Correct.
It has to become an entity.
As a state.
Yes,
I agree,
a political
but
entity.
I would not change the economic model from a fundamental point of view. And at least, if you speak about Germany, I don't think that the capitalistic economic model was implemented against the will of Germany. It was a deeply rooted methodology, so the relation is similar fundaments between Germany and the United States in these matters are not imposed. It was not involuntary. As such, it was very in favor of the United
It
States.
was a tradition.
Yeah,
you mean.
correct.
It was a tradition,
And let's say we have also a different capitalistic model when it comes to Social Security, when it comes to the rural working laws, it's very different. So it gives a lot of room to do things differently. Nobody enforced Germany, for example, to privatize the railways or so. That's let's say if you had a communist regime, then of course other USA and other
Have a
countries.
good evening. See you
Thank you. See you
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Sarah Bonat.
So I think you understand what I want to say.
Yes.
But one question, technically, what do you want to do with this recording? What will you do with this?
She asked me to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
will